This thing I have right here. This is the new NUBIA Z80 Ultra, a smartphone that makes a strong entrance in the high-end range. And it does so with a screen that covers the entire front, a refined design, and specs that don't mess around. We're talking about a phone with the new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, a 144Hz active matrix organic light emitting diode display, and a huge 7200 mAh battery. In such a slim body. It comes again with its camera system, going for the 35mm design to achieve that natural bokeh and blur. And this one? Mine's the white model with 16GB RAM and 512GB storage. I've been testing it recently to share how it performs, works, and whether it can compete with major market players. So let's find out everything. Join me here on Tech Ground. Let me give some context in case someone isn't aware. Nubia is a brand owned by Zhongxing Telecommunication Equipment, and they've been experimenting with innovative designs under display cameras, and their Ultraline is where they always take the most risks. And this Z80 Ultra represents the maturity of that idea, meaning combining Qualcomm's power with a completely clean BOE panel without any punch holes. And with a camera module designed for photographers and creators who are looking for something different. Enjoy real technology content? Like subscribe and enable notifications. At TechGround, we aim to bring you the best and latest in technology. Without further ado, let's get to the unboxing and see what's inside this little box, alright? The NUBIA Z80 comes in an elegant, simple box as shown. A combination of black and silver colors with the engraving on top and the 0 in red, just like we saw with the Z70. And when we open the box, we find the device, and right underneath a small box containing accessories and documentation. Inside the box, we find the tool to remove the SIM card tray, a red charging cable, USB-C to USB-C, about 70 centimeters or a meter long, a protective plastic case that's really nice, and the user manual along with papers and documentation. I'm disappointed the charger isn't included, though that's becoming more common. This is a common practice among all brands, and I think it's necessary for them to include their own charger. When you hold it, you can tell it's solid and well built. The back features a stardust matte finish that resists fingerprints and enhances grip. The truth is, it's quite comfortable thanks to the slightly rounded edges. It gives you that premium phone feeling from the very first second. Alright, as always, let's start by talking about the design and the build quality. And here, Nubia wanted to stand out, as you can see, without being too strict. The Z80 Ultra measures approximately 164.5 by 77.2 by 8.6 millimeters and weighs about 230 grams. It's big, but honestly, it's quite well balanced. The frame has a satin finish with rounded edges. The back has a finish that combines glass with that stardust texture, which reflects light subtly and prevents fingerprints from sticking. Undoubtedly, the most remarkable feature is its screen in your hand. Now we're going to talk about how the buttons are arranged and also the finish of this device. On the top edge, we find two microphones. We'll see that we have several microphones because they focused on improving voice capture. And there's also an infrared sensor on the right edge with the volume and lock-unlock buttons together. It has that rubberized texture with this red-colored grill. The quick assist button for taking photos, which we can set ourselves. Just tap it, the camera will open, and we can aim, shoot, and focus. It has the double press feature like a regular camera, and that's great. On the other hand, at the bottom we have the main speaker, and we also have a speaker at the top. A stereo setup that sounds pretty good. We also find two more microphones, so we have 4 in total here, and the USB-C port right in the center. And next to it, we have the slot for the dual SIM. However, we can't expand it with a micro-secure digital card, which is a drawback worth considering. On the left side, we find a sliding button that we can configure to have quick shortcuts, for example, to turn on the flashlight or open an app. For example, I set up game space, so that's why it made a sound. Should I press it? And the game menu opens up so I can access them directly and also mute the phone, and some settings that you'll see in the detailed shots. If we go to the back, I already mentioned the finish and texture of this Stardust. Okay, this anti-fingerprint Stardust is honestly amazing. Phones that have this kind of finish are, as I said, very elegant and much nicer. At the top, we find the camera module, which is really well laid out with cameras that are actually useful and have dedicated optics. This little circle we see here, which looks like a lens on the left side. At the top is the main 35mm camera, followed by the sensor for measuring, then the focus and the artificial intelligence assistance. Next to it is the 18mm wide-angle camera. We have both 18 and 24. Here, where it says Neo Vision, it continues. The flash, well, it's still just a support light, but it's quite powerful, it's considerable. And below, the 85mm telephoto lens, which also has a digital stabilization system. Everything is precisely measured, and also I think this right here, if I remember correctly, is another microphone. 5 microphones are distributed throughout the entire phone. The phone is well made. As you can see, the screen stretches edge to edge, overflowing, not curved, but precisely measured. We have a screen-to-body ratio of about 97% or 98%, and there's no main camera visible because the main camera is hidden under the screen. That is, we'll see it and then boom, it disappears. It's available in 3 colors, white, black, and a starry night blue, which is beautiful. Available in 3 versions, 12GB RAM, 256GB storage, up to 24GB RAM, 1TB storage. In addition, it has IP68 and IP69 certifications, so it can withstand immersion at 1.5 meters for 30 minutes, and dust, and even high-pressure water jets. So I don't want to go on much longer, let's get to the specifications and how it works. I've mentioned the screen before, but to reiterate, active matrix organic light emitting diode, 6.85 inches, 144 Hz, 2000 nits, 430 ppi, and high dynamic range support. Additionally, it uses pulse width modulation at 2592 Hz and has Société Générale de Surveillance low blue light certification, which is important for eye care. It's a very efficient screen with very rich colors and really deep blacks. It gives you that premium feeling because, like I said, from the first touch when you start using the phone, it looks spectacular. And as always, I'm going to leave some examples here so you can see for yourselves how this screen looks and the quality it offers. It's also important that, for being such a slim and well-designed phone, as I like to say, we have a dual speaker with digital theater system. It sounds very clear and good, not exaggerated, it's not super loud, but has quality. It's not signed by any label or brand, I think, but I'll leave a sample here so you can listen for yourselves as well. Let's get to what matters. What's under the hood besides the screen? Everything is important, but what powers this beast? The Snapdragon 8 Elite Generation 5 with a 3nm architecture running at 4.6 GHz clock speed, accompanied by an Adreno 840 GPU. Qualcomm promises better performance and efficiency in this phone, and it shows. The phone is blazing fast. It comes with low-power double data rate, 5x dual channel at 5300 mHz. That's impressive, and it features Universal Flash Storage 4.1. Our unit, as I already mentioned, has 16GB of physical RAM, but we can add 12 more virtually, reaching a total of 28GB. That means it's really insane for handling all these processes. Well, and this whole setup makes everything run smoothly in practice. Whether it's Asphalt, which we've tested, Call of Duty, Marvel, the apps you use, switching between them, or even editing video, everything runs at very high frame rates with perfect resolution. Even with 2 games at once in floating windows, you can manage it and it runs, as I said, spectacularly. It has a mode called Game Space, which you've seen before, where you can control all the performance of the central processing unit and GPU. Frame counters, recordings, mapping, and controls. Almost everything is adjustable in-game. This mode is for players who want to get the most out of it again. When I tested it, it got a bit warm, but only the metal part heated up. How could you tell it was dissipating heat? The back of the phone never felt hot. But I'm telling you, I'll leave you a sample here and you'll see how this beast performs. Well, I told you that the most important thing was the processor, but you know that in a phone, everything is connected. It's a whole system and everything matters. Very important, because if we have a balance between a good screen, decent sound, and a chip with a GPU that can handle everything we want. What is our phone lacking? Is it a good camera? Do I have to bother my girlfriend? Even though they didn't include the variable aperture like in the Z70, which I liked for its visible iris opening and closing. We have 3 truly spectacular cameras with a magnificent sensor that takes amazing photos and good videos. I don't have much to say about the front, but I'll tell you now. The main camera has a 50 megapixel sensor, a sensor that measures 1/1.3 inches with a maximum aperture of 1.7 and optical stabilization. Is it the 35mm? The 18mm ultra wide angle lens has 50 megapixels autofocus and a 5cm macro. Next is the 64 megapixel telephoto lens with stabilization and 3.5x optical zoom, reaching about 85mm in relation, so Nubia keeps the 35mm focal length. It adds a beautiful natural perspective and pleasing bokeh. But in the Z70, what I said about the aperture, I think that's something that gave it that different touch. But even so, it doesn't stop. I mean, they far surpassed it and they're at an incredible level and perform really well. Besides, the camera has a ton of settings. I wanted to go a little deeper into this because I think Nubia has really gotten involved in camera development and I think we need to know it thoroughly. Additionally, Nubia offers an external photography kit, a case with top controls that attaches directly. You can also attach a telephoto lens like the one on the Vivo X300. It's a great accessory for those looking to elevate their photography, especially amateur photographers or enthusiasts. You won't have to carry a camera, but you can take an amazing sensor anywhere. So let me just open the menu here, just a second. I'm not going to start screen recording. I'll tell you why we have several sections in the extras. Alright, different modes we can use. Milky Way night, sunsets, photos of the moon, slow motion, time lapse, effects factory, you can change backgrounds, erase things with artificial intelligence. Macro mode, multi-camera mode, also multi-exposure mode will give us a range of extra content that we normally don't have on mobile phones. Alright, within the scene, here we can already get a bit into pro level. We can shoot with the different lenses, with the different focal lengths. We have portrait mode, photo mode, and the video mode that we have. 4K up to 120 frames per second and 8K at 30 frames per second, it's incredible. And the pro mode, okay? The pro mode, we already have a setting. We can shoot photos in RAW, we can adjust everything. The International Organization for Standardization, the focus, the overexposure, the intervals. Of course, shooting with 3 cameras, the 18, 35, or 80. Anyway, I recorded the screen when I was outside. I'm going to leave some samples because I want you to stop and take a look. I didn't make an amazing report or anything, but I took some interesting photos and I'll leave them here for you to see. Now let's discuss the NUBIA Z80 Ultra's under display front camera. I'm indoors on set under the spotlight so you can see how it looks. Also, here's an image with artificial light. This is how it looks and sounds. You'll see images clearly showing both indoors and outdoors. Again, the selfie camera of this NUBIA Z80 Ultra. Now we're indoors, but with natural light, okay? The light coming in now, as you can see, adds some grain or noise to the image. If I stand here backlit, it seems that, well, the dynamic range struggles a bit to handle it. But the moment I face the light directly, you can clearly see that the quality and texture improve. Front camera now in daylight conditions, but we're outside with light using this under display camera at 1080p 30 frames per second. I'm here at a roundabout where we're going to have a bit of background noise because there are cars like this. We can also analyze how it captures sound, and it seems that the dynamic range again is captured quite well. there's kind of a black mist, and here we have a pretty optimal resolution. A skin that's not fully realistic as it's powered by artificial intelligence. And well, the colors are quite accurate. The white balance works pretty well. Here's how it looks and sounds. Does the NUBIA Z80 have a front camera for nighttime use? Just as I suspected, and as we were already saying, notice that the under-display camera still has a lot to improve. Because yes, it's true that it looks okay, but there's a lot of noise with huge grains. You can see the pixels, and even if I stand here under the streetlight, notice that it still looks a bit bad. So this is the result from the front camera of this NUBIA Z80 Ultra rear camera at 8K 30 frames per second. We're indoors with natural light, as you can see. This is how the stabilization works. Let's take a look at my kitty who's sleeping here, so you can see a bit of the quality. Hello, and well, this is a real test. In daytime conditions, indoors. Again, we're indoors in daytime conditions. Now 4K at 60 FPS, and yes, it does let us activate electronic stabilization. There's a small sensor crop, but look, how does this camera look at 4K? Here we have my kitty, hello, rear camera, 4K 60 frames per second with stabilization on. I'm walking, as you can see, it doesn't shake at all. It doesn't have any weird jelly effect. The changes in light are spectacular. I'm using the 35mm 1.85 meters. Look, I'm at 1.85 millimeters. Right now, it looks really good. I'm gonna zoom in all the way. There you can see the mountains. This is the X15, which allows us to 35 millimeters. And the 18 is what we're missing. As you can see, the contrast and the change in light are very good. The moment we switch, it handles the highlights very well. The focus, as you've seen, is also excellent. We have a pretty considerable focus. Let's put the 85 in here. The texture is impressive, and this is in 4K. Now let's see 8K, 8K. Now at 30 frames per second with the 35mm, which is what allows us to switch between 35 and 50 millimeters. And as you can see, the colors still remain spotless. Yes, it's true that we don't have stabilization, but let's check the focus. It seems to struggle more than with 4K. That's a different story. Rear camera, 35 millimeters. Take a look. How do the colors look? Yes, it's true that it can generate a bit of noise, but the quality is spectacular. Take a look, the 50 millimeters. And that's the 35 we have. Such quality, contrast, and nighttime colors. What will we gain by going over there, where there's less light? Look, notice how it handles low lights, shadows, and highlights without blowing them out or creating that weird flare effect. The previous one was 8K at 30 FPS without stabilization. This is 4K at 60, so the lights flicker a bit. Alright, here we can actually use the 85 millimeters. Look, we're practically at a distance of about 50 meters over there. How do the cars look? The 35 coming. And here we can already start using different lenses by 4, which is the crop the sensor gives us. I think it's pretty good. How great and how beautiful it is to have these amazing cameras, these sensors, these apertures, that good relationship, that image processing, contrast, bit depth. But what a shame about the front camera, huh? I mean, just to hide a camera under the screen so it can't be seen, the result you get is, as you've seen, it's terrible. I mean, from here, Nubia, if you're listening to us, which I suppose I hope you are, the under-display camera, when there's a lot of light, it works, okay? When light is low, the artificial intelligence begins to fabricate things. You might have seen a photo of me where I look like a clown, like someone painted my face. The video is sad to watch, but anyway, this is something I wanted you to look at closely and evaluate, because if you take a photo like this, you're going to get an amazing picture. But a photo like this indoors, maybe with artificial lighting, more or less decent as you've seen in the example. Let's move on to the next section about security and connectivity. What security features do we have? Well, it includes an ultrasonic under-display fingerprint reader, which is super fast. Face Unlock also works really well, and in terms of connectivity, it's very complete. 5G Wi-Fi 7. It comes with Android 16 Bluetooth 5.4 near-field communication for payments, infrared USB-C 3.2 Gen 1. It features digital theater systems, X Ultra stereo sound, and 5 microphones to capture your voice. And well, another section I didn't want to leave out, which I saved for last, because I think it's also worth mentioning, as always, the battery and the temperature. That is, we have a 7,200 milliamp battery, 80-watt wired charging, and 80-watt wireless charging. You can even share power wirelessly with other people. You can use it like a kind of power bank. You put your phone on it, and you can give people energy through the device. The battery has lasted for me, just so you get an idea, almost 2 days, okay? It's a good day and a half of heavy use using it. It's 7,200 milliamps to power a 144 Hz screen, 2000 nits, and a high power processor. This is like having a V12 in a car. After all, it needs gas to run it. If you use the battery less and don't run at max performance, it can easily last a day and a half, even 2 days. Okay, now I'm gonna quickly wrap up with the Z70 Ultra. Okay, because compared to this one, the Z80, what does it improve? Logically, the performance with the processor is better. It also wins in battery life. It has a better battery. And of course, also the charging aspect. The cameras have improved slightly, but the front one is still like the Z70 Ultra. In conclusion, after several days of testing, I'll share my positive impressions. What I really liked is this active matrix organic light emitting diode screen, which is truly spectacular. It looks great. 144 Hz, 2000 nits, no notch or holes, very cool. An amazing performance from everything related to the microprocessor's customization layer. Essentially all engine components. The cameras are really great. They're very professional cameras for a phone that's going to compete directly with the big names in the market. As I said, charging could be improved by better heat dissipation. When you're really pushing it hard, you can feel a bit of heat. It's a shame they didn't include the diaphragm. That's something I still don't understand. When I opened it, I expected a variable diaphragm, but it wasn't there. Plus, there's no charger included. So it starts at about 899 euros, which is roughly 900 euros. Alright, and it competes directly with Xiaomi 14 Ultra, OnePlus 13 Pro, and the Samsung S25 Ultra. If you want a different premium phone backed by Zhongxing Telecommunication Equipment, a trusted manufacturer for years, this is a solid choice. And a camera with a more natural focal length, especially the front one, right? The Z80 might be the most interesting thing this year. That's all for today. If the video, review, or analysis helped you or answered your questions, share your thoughts in the comments. Which phone would you have chosen instead if it wasn't this one? And of course, thank you if you've made it this far. Link in the description. We'll leave any code for you and see you in the next Tech Ground episode. Thanks for joining us. May technology be with you. I'm going to keep taking pictures. This 35mm sensor is amazing. See you?